what makes someone undateable? What do we mean by being undateable? Are we just blaming others and not realizing what we're doing? Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. Once again, I want to welcome back Sandy Weiner, the dating coach, relationship expert, communications expert, and the author of Choice Points in Dating, sitting there right behind me. Sandy, thanks so much for joining me again.
Thank you for having me, Silka.
Today, Sandy, ask yourself this question. Are you undateable? Not you, Sandy, but you as in general. we've recently done a segment on what makes women undateable and what makes men undateable. Well, how about us? Are we just blaming others and not realizing what we're doing? What makes someone undateable? What do we mean by being undateable?
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to blame the person we're dating as being undateable, but I think we need to take a look at ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we're broken or there's something wrong with us. But a lot of times we don't have the awareness as to why people don't ask us on a second date or what our mindset is. Maybe we have some habits that we're not even aware of that are keeping people at bay. And so I think it's really empowering to know that we can change those things and we can have much more success when we are dateable.
I think you said the key word there, awareness. So much of what we do is, this isn't brain surgery or rocket science. It's simple things that we can fix if we are aware of them. And we're not, unless somebody tells us or somebody prompts us to think about it. So let's talk about here, what are some of the biggest turn off traits or habits that make us undateable? The first one here, and this comes up so much, bitterness or baggage.
Yeah, it's interesting that people often will say, oh, that person has so much baggage. But the truth is, we all have baggage. It's how we deal with our baggage. So if you are carrying your baggage into the dates, here you go. This is my ex, and what a jerk. And I had a terrible marriage. Oh my God. Women suck. Men suck. Oh, this is what I learned from my last relationship. Women don't communicate well. It's if you're bringing stuff like that, you're not going to get another date.
Yeah. And like I said, this comes up so often, yet for some reason it doesn't hit home with some people who really need to hear that. And I point at myself. Every time I do an interview, I learn something. So I'm not here preaching. But yeah, do you bring baggage and you're not even realizing it?
I just wanted to add to that yes, you may have had a horrible marriage. You may have had bad relationships. We all have suffered from relationships that didn't work out, but that's not for you to bring to the date. That's not for you to say to the person, because when you bring this up right away, what you're saying is, I still identify with this issue, and also I'm not taking any responsibility for my share in the relationship. So it's all somebody else's fault. This is what makes it baggage and bitterness.
Number two here, again, has come up lots of times, neediness.
So there's a big difference between having needs, which we all do, and having neediness, which is a sort of a desperation that I need you to complete me, that I'm dating because I'm so lonely and I really hope, I'm so desperate for a partner, and why hasn't anybody chosen me? Those are neediness phrases and neediness way of thinking, as opposed to the need to have a more full life, to have a happier existence. We all have needs, but neediness is when you're depending on somebody else to solve the problem for you.
Yeah, like they write here, treating a date like a lifeline instead of a compliment. That's being a little dramatic saying that, but essentially we are bringing that kind of mindset, or can be bringing that mindset here.
Yeah.
Again, another big one, negativity, bringing the everything sucks into the dating process.
A lot of people just come to the date complaining about everything. and about my job and about my children. My children don't talk to me and this and that. And it's like, it is so draining to be around people who just focus on what's wrong. And again, we're not Pollyanna here. Your life isn't going to be perfect. But as you're getting to know somebody in the beginning, you bring your best self. You don't bring all the problems and you don't dump on this innocent person who you're out on a date with.
When you said Pollyanna, something hit me. I recently learned about toxic positivity, wondering if
Oh,
that might
God.
make a good might make a good segment. Leave your comments.
Yeah, that's the opposite of negativity, is being so positive that you don't even ever talk about anything negative. I had that on a first phone call many years ago. This guy was like, I don't discuss anything negative. There's nothing negative in my life. And I'm like, you're not realistic. So that's also toxic, both ends, both extremes.
Rigid expectations.
Yeah, you're demanding, oh my God, there are many, many expectations that people have coming into dating that people should. They're using the word should is not a good idea, but people should. They should know that the man should pay on the first date. He should be making plans. He should have asked me out. We're you're communicating online.
Mhm.
Why didn't he suggest a phone call? Why do I have to do it? And then you end up sabotaging often because you're waiting and you're not giving off the vibe that you're actually open to dating, but the person has no idea because they can't read your mind. So it works on both ends, having the expectation of the long list and all of those things that keep us single because we're not being flexible in the right ways.
Expectations, you always set yourself up for disappointment, period. I learned
Yeah.
that. But it's true. It's true. If you expect something, you're going to be disappointed. And the other thing with expectations too is expecting something or wanting something that you're not. You
Yes.
might be wanting somebody to be a certain way or expect them to be a certain way, but you're not bringing that to the table, and that's something that really requires some self-awareness that we'll talk about a little bit here. Well, lack of self-awareness, another one. Here we're talking about it
Yeah.
already. You don't know what You're just not aware what's going on around you or how you come across.
Right. I mean, so many of us don't. We can't see what we can't see. I mean, that's why people hire me because they go like, I have this pattern and people keep breaking up with me. I don't really understand, or why can't I get a second date? So we don't always realize that we're being bossy or we're not expressing ourselves enough. And we'll go through some of the signs that make you dateable, but that lack of awareness, even when you think you're self-aware, because most of us think we actually don't see everything because we can't. We can only see what we think we know.
Here's a couple signs I thought were interesting. Saying things like, I'm too much, I'm just not enough, or believing there's no good or men or women left. Those are common, aren't they?
Yeah, our beliefs are everything. And so many people come to me and they say, I feel like I'm just too much to be able to find a partner. I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm not rich enough. I mean, we have all kinds of beliefs that this is what makes you dateable. And also just believing that there aren't any people left. You're not going to be able to find anyone because whatever you believe is what you're going to see in the world.
One belief that they said, which I thought was really interesting, is believe or saying something like, well, I'm just being honest. That's why I drive people away. And you mentioned, we talked about this prior to recording, that believe, yeah, giving feedback, especially on dates, almost like you're sabotaging a potential connection. Does that happen a lot?
It happens a lot. I mean, I used to do it. I used to think it was my duty to let men know why they were pushing me away. And people don't want to be schooled unless they ask for it. And so one of my rules, I don't really like rules, but one of my rules is just don't give people feedback unless they've asked for it. It's
Mm-hmm.
unsolicited advice. It's just your opinion, and you're going to piss people off.
Mm-hmm.
So just being honest, you have to have a filter. You
Yeah.
have to know when to share, when
Yeah.
not to share. You have to check in with people and see if they're open.
A huge difference between authenticity and just being rude. So again, if you think you're
Mm,
just being honest, well, think again. You
yeah.
could really be hurting someone. So let's talk about the positive. Let's get rid of the negative and let's talk about positive. How do you make yourself dateable again? What are the steps?
Well, you have to be really honest with yourself. And again, that's hard to do because we think we're being honest. So ask yourself, would I want to date me right now? I mean, Silke, you just said a few minutes ago
Yeah.
that if you're not bringing those qualities, maybe you're not emotionally available.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're not doing the things that you want somebody else to be and do for you.
Yeah.
Then ask yourself, to be honest with yourself. Am I dateable?
But let's look at the steps that you have here. The first one, identify your patterns or what you're doing without shame.
So, one of the ways to do this is to make a list of people that you significant relationships and try to find the patterns in them. Did they break up with you? Did they tell you why? Was there a commonality among these people? Did you keep picking people who were emotionally unavailable? You can blame the other person, but you're also doing the choosing. So, is your picker broken? Are you just picking the wrong people? And we can play that part. A friend of mine just recently said that he's dating a few people who are talking about their ex-husbands with a lot of venom. And I said, to me, that's a yellow flag. If they're not taking responsibility, then they're just blaming. That's not good. What's going to happen further down the road in that relationship? Are they going to blame you for stuff and not take responsibility? So we need to do the work, which is the next step.
The next step, yeah, do the
Yeah.
work. What does that mean? We hear that a lot. Do the work.
Yeah. So all of our work shows up in dating when we do the work and when we don't do the work. So let's say somebody's cheated on you and you have that pattern. That's your pattern that you've identified. You've always been cheated on. Well, why did you allow people into your life who were not trustworthy? Did you miss red flags? Instead of bringing that to every single date and accusing the next person of cheating, or you're being hyper vigilant with their phone or whatever, and accusing and sabotaging and pushing that person away, that's going to be leaking out. That's
Mm-hmm.
the part of you that is unhealed.
Yeah.
And so you want to do that work so that you're not bringing the past pain to the relationship that you have today.
Yeah, that was a huge one for me to learn. Boy, did I do work on that one. Anyway, practice self acceptance. That confidence isn't ego, it's knowing you're enough. I love that statement, but how easy is that to implement?
Well, sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, but
Mm-hmm.
I think you just get out there and date and you realize that you have worth. If you think about the friendships you have and what people value in you, how you show up at work and what people value in you, then you're bringing those same qualities into your dating life, but you may be hiding those qualities when you date. So the self-acceptance is, yes, maybe I made some mistakes. That's okay. We all make mistakes.
Interesting. I saw the Barbara Walters documentary last night. I don't know why that popped in my
I
head,
saw it.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but one of the most confident. I mean, this woman accomplished incredible stuff. Yet in her personal life, and she had insecurities. You go, are you kidding me? So this is, smart, confident, accomplished women and men have that. So again, we started this off. Accept this without shame.
Yeah. And by the way, that is one of the most common things. I mean, the people who hire me are successful at work. They have done amazing things with their life. It is not the same in your romantic life. You can't use the same measures exactly. I'm saying know your worth in the rest of your life, but also understand that your romantic relationships are so much more complex than your work relationships. It's easier to accomplish than to be vulnerable, than to work through conflict with somebody who you've been completely exposed to in all ways, both physically and metaphorically and emotionally. And it requires a lot of skills. And most of us don't have those skills, and we were not modeled those skills. So don't blame yourself.
Yeah, great point. Here's an easy one. Toss the unrealistic checklist. Do you have that checklist and get rid of it?
We talk about this all the time. Oh, these checklists. A client of mine just wrote to me that she wants somebody who's going to go, go, go. That's like her most important quality, that he is just willing to pick up and go and travel and go, go, go and never stop. And then I said, that's a nice quality, but it shouldn't be at the top of your list because at one point he's going to slow down.
Yeah.
Just what else is there?
Mhm.
And so that's not a character trait. I mean, yes, it would be fun to travel and do all these fun things, but you've got to be clear on the character traits and the way that you align in your values and your life goals and all the important things. And most people get the list wrong. So if your checklist is just that person has to own a home, be a certain height and a certain weight and all the stuff that gets
Yeah.
in the way of finding love, toss the list and get the right one.
Well, finally, here, the last point is get curious and date like a beginner. I like that.
So there's that Buddhist thing, the beginner's mind. And I love just approaching everything with like, I don't know everything. And I am here to learn and I'm here to be present and I'm here to be an explorer and I want to be curious because
Mhm.
that is hot. You know, that
Yeah.
curiosity, you don't know everything. Anybody who comes into dating with, well, yeah, yeah, I know that. I knew that. Ugh.
Yeah.
But like, oh, I want to know more about you.
Mm,
Wow. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for wanting to see me.
Yeah, that what an immediate connection that is between people. You immediately become more interesting. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. Ask questions, show curiosity, and you're already building connection there. Well, we're starting to get to the end, Sandy. So, is there anything else that you want to add to this before I do close?
Get support. I mean, again, we talked a lot about how we can't see what we can't see. And, I date, I work with men and women. I date them, not both, um, but truly the difference in somebody who gets support and somebody who just complains and is or is confused. You
Mhm.
don't have to do this alone. And I work with people in many, many ways. And there are
Mhm.
other people out there who work with people, and especially somebody like a dating coach who that's all they do is
Mhm.
dating and relationships. There are people who I see who have therapists, but they don't really understand the dating world. If this is an important goal of yours, don't just do it alone.
No, I totally agree. And like you said, there's so many resources now, and we will link to yours. If you do want to get in touch with Sandy directly, we'll link to her website, Last First Date. All the contact information is below. Sandy, thank you again, and I look forward to our next conversation on Second Act TV.